Yes, 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 yes. You don't have to remind me all the time that I have to do this. Never mind. So welcome. This I know is a bit of a shock because obviously there was no live stream of last week's race. That's because real life has to come first at times, and unfortunately sometimes real life does suck, meaning that not every week am I able to do every single thing that I like to do, but of course you guys get the doubleheader once again as well. So first of all, we get round number 8 of the SRS GT3 series at WeatherTech Raceplay Laguna Seca for tiers 1 and number 2, and then it is the championship finale in a couple hours time. And so today's race going to be 60 minutes, whereas the race at Le Mans, the season finale, a 90-minute running for the finale of the inaugural season of the SRS GT3 series for tiers number 1 and tier number 2. So let me just pull up the live stream real quickly on my iPad here while we wait for the replay to load on up. And I'm seeing that everyone is coming on. Good afternoon, Tice, and welcome to the live stream. I know I did get the notifications this morning. I actually have been up for, I'd say, for like the past 2.5 hours or so. I just wanted to watch the whole Formula One race at the Nürburgring today as well. So I wanted to get that done first before actually coming on today as well. Duck Barrel, good afternoon, buddy. Welcome to the live stream. Tyson, got my manufacturer? Absolutely not just yet. That is going to be a decision that will be happening later today, I imagine. So, and so now, getting ready for 60 minutes here. Of course, going to have to go by off of what qualifying is going to be looking like for the start of the race here. And this should be a rather exciting race because if you go back all the way to 2009 with the incident with Jan Magnussen and Jörg Bergmeister for that final lap dash to the line in that 6-hour race, of course, Jan Magnussen getting the tap, but of course didn't particularly liking that, and of course resulted in the spin and a wreck for Jan Magnussen at the line. Palmer and James Head on the front row with Tyson K&K Dot on the second row. Tyson T5 Black and Swift, then Year Rain Splash, Bar 27 and Hair Raider making up the top 10 of that race. And I believe, is that Bar 27 on the pole position for the Tier 2? Yes, it is. So what a surprise for the and we can't get a particularly good start from the back of UTAP. You can see the red lights, and they are away. I don't even know why I'm using the keyboard here at this rate, even though we're in replay function mode. But there you go, Palmer. And it looks like Ty's getting a better start than James Head off third place on the attack for second place. Going down to turn number 1 is going to be very, very tight. T5 Black getting a good start from 5th place there. Swift and Splash actually getting relegated back down to 6th place. Yuri and Hair Raider actually jumping our Tier 2 Pro Center of Bar 27 up into the lead for the 69 Mercedes right there. A lot of action going on track at the moment here. Just so much coverage to go on, and James Head looking to be making a move back on Ty's for second place after getting jumped at the start of the race here. Looking very, very feisty indeed for the number 7. Oh, and he gets both the right side wheels on the gravel, and now this is going to be a tight 1-2 wide. You never make this work. Oh, James Head was tapped a bit wide. As a matter of fact, he's on the gravel trap and somehow keeps it at bay, but at the expense of that, it's going to be T5 Black is going to be up in this inside here for this corkscrew. It's a 4-story drop here for the iconic corkscrew. And Swift actually getting up into 3rd place, so a great start for the number 95 Audi for Audi Sport Team Cymax here. Oh, was there more contact? There's a lot of cars going off the track here. And Tyson Yuri having a bit of a scramble together here. Splash gets himself back up into the top 5 of this race. So a very chaotic start here as Doug Barrow now is being shown as the leader of the race. So a very up and down first lap for a lot of these guys in tier number 2. Bo Fishidara going, I'm sorry, not Bo Fishidara, but Trollhead now in the 44 Jaguar up into second place with Bo Fishidara in that McLaren up into third place with K&K Dot. And not such a great start after starting in 4th place all the way down to 11th overall. Not a great start for the Porsche. And our Pro and our tier 2 pole sitter now all the way down into 13th overall. Hairraiser also getting involved with some sort of incident all the way back down in dead last. So a big incident for Hairraiser, who took the race lead early on in tier 2. And this has been a very chaotic race start, as you can imagine here. Palmer in the 24. Oh, look at that. The front end just slightly lifting up off the ground as you drop down the corkscrew. Like I said, it's a 4-story drop from the top of the corkscrew all the way down to the bottom here. And these two guys, Palmer and T5 Black, have had a near season-long rivalry with each other, and it's just heating up now. James head up into 3rd place now once again, so he's made up some good ground in that number 7 Aston Martin. Splash now up into 4th place, so it has someone actually had a bit of an incident in tier number 1. Oh, and KK Dot actually getting forced out a bit wide, and he's literally in the middle of these tier 2 guys. And there's the problem. Swift now has had a big incident with something. So can we take a look at what's happened to the number... Oh, wow. And I think it's after the VP Racing Fuels bridge here. And did he carry a bit too wide? Bump. Oh, and the car just turns itself around, and that's a big moment for the 95. And just to make it matters worse, he tried to get it spun around again. Oh my goodness me, that almost in the Repsol act here. Oh my goodness me. Oh man, that's not good news for the 95 of Swift. And so unfortunately, he's got a lot of ground to make back up from 3rd place. He had a great start in that 95, but that's another kick in the balls for the Audi Sport Team Sidematch crew. And they've had a tough season, and they've shown quite a fair bit of pace, but they've had so many incidents on track, it's just been relegating them further backwards more than going up and into the standings, of course. Even though they are really high up in the standings, but they're not as close to points-wise in terms of T5 Black and their main Sidematch teammate Palmer, who has been pretty much holding the torch for that team for most of the season here. He's had a very good season, as well as T5 Black. See if he can get some action going on as well. Oh, and Doug Barrow, our tier 2 race leader, having to resist a bit of a charge from Petrolhead in the 44. And these front engine rear-wheel drive cars looking very meaty here on this American racetrack that makes up Laguna Seca. Of course, formerly known as Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca. Of course, then that track, the lead sponsorship now changing up the sponsorship here, now being sponsored by WeatherTech for making the WeatherTech race Laguna Seca. Oh, and Petrolhead dropping a few bit of wheels on the gravel, and you definitely don't want that. And Doug Barrow, I think, does the same thing. One corner later, the Petrolhead, and now this lead now as these guys just kind of hang on to the back of the tier 1 train here. Not a whole lot going on in terms of actual racing and trying to attack each other. KK Dot, I think, dead last in the tier 1 division, and he's had a very difficult race, who's sporting a Brumos Racing themed Porsche 911 RSR. Of course, I did see these cars in these Brumos Racing liveries, the tribute, at the Watkins Glen when I went up there in 2019, and those cars looked very stunning indeed. I don't think this is the exact representation, but of course K&K Dot spending such an amount of time, an adequate amount of time getting these liveries prepped up for each race weekend, and each race day, they look mighty fine each day that he releases them as well. Take a quick gander at some of the comments you guys are seeing. Ping pong definitely is what Tice is saying. I could definitely say that as well. Was a fair bit of ping pong. Of course, we didn't get to see it on the live stream, but you can kind of get an idea of how much quickly these positions changed in the first couple of laps in these races. Elliot Faggot is saying, hey, Tice, good job with the creation of SRS. And Elliot, welcome to the live stream. Elliot, good to have you out here, of course, for this double header. Of course, this race happened last week, so we get the replay out. But then today, you will get the actual live race itself for today's race at the season finale at Le Mans, the pinnacle of motorsport, as I like to call it as well. The real test of man and machine for full 24 hours, but of course we're not doing that for 24 hours. We're going to do it for 90 minutes here today. Oh, and Doug Barrow heard that tire squealing a little bit. Of course, Patrolhead not letting him get too far away, and this battle for the race lead in tier number 2, of course 7th overall and 1st in class. And you can see Bo Fischadara actually starting to make up a bit of ground in that McLaren. Oh, and Doug Barrow having a big moment out of the final corner. I think he touched the AstroTurf and then gave the acceleration, and then, as a matter of fact, twisted the car sideways towards the pit wall. And now all of a sudden, that 44 Jaguar is right up his chuff now. Not that far off, but I'm looking like just under a second between these two guys. And Doug Barrow, oh, again with another big moment for Doug Barrow in the 13. That time, nearly spinning the car. Once again, well held by Doug Barrow. And he's doing an absolutely everything that he's got with Bo Fischadara. Like we said, in this McLaren 650S, not a car that you usually see be very competitive in GT Sport Online Racing, but Bo Fischadara is just making it work and even getting that race win last time out at the Nürburgring in tier number 2. Oh, and Patrolhead starting to put on the pressure for the 13 here. Looking very close indeed for these two race leaders. And let's see what Patrolhead could do for the final corner at the end of lap number 6. Kind of hanging on. It looks like that Mercedes is better out of the corners, but that Jaguar looking mighty fine in a straight. So can Doug Barrow try and force an, or not Doug Barrow, can Patrolhead can he try and force an issue into turn 1? There is the dive for turn number 1, but can he hold on to it? Is the big question. He's actually carried a bit too much, and Doug Barrow just somehow kept the gap there. But these two aren't done just yet. Patrolhead got the inside, and I think Patrolhead just let him on go. He tried making the move. He held on to the race lead for tier number 2 for just a hair. But it looks like that Doug Barrow just found a way on back. And now all of a sudden, Bo Fischadara not far off of these two. And this is going to be a real good battle. As Bo Fischadara going to try and make the move. He's got the drive out of the corner. And Patrolhead, I think, just let him on through, not really trying to hold it up for that much longer. But this 3-car battle, which is going to start becoming a 2-car battle if Doug Barrow gets away, is going to get very interesting indeed here. Oh, and Patrolhead right over the back bumper of this number 88 McLaren of Bo Fischadara. And this is looking mighty tense indeed between these two guys. Oh, Patrolhead, oh, just kept it on the track there. It looked like he was about to understeer very much off indeed. Kept it on, for a matter of fact. We'll take a moment back up to the front of the field now, whereas James Head and Splash still keeping position with Tyson Gire at the moment. Still holding a grudge, not that far off in 5th and 6th. T5 Black, haven't seen much of a lot of him. Of course, still behind the number 24, I'd say about a second and a half or 2 seconds or so. But this battle at the moment for 3rd overall and in class, between the number 7 and the 11. And so JM Racing versus Falcon Motorsports by SDM. And so the Mercedes, it looks like the front engine cars are looking very quick indeed around here. Of course, the leading MR car is the number 77 Audi Sport Team Sidemax entry of Gire. And so not up to the EDO specification for the 2019 and 2020 models, but of course using the previous gen Audi R8 LMS. And of course that livery, as you see in the background there, of course Gire inspiring that side match livery based on his favorite race team using the Audi R8's Belgian Audi Club WRT. And now makes that move pretty easily on his teammate in the Mercedes of Tice. And so the 77 makes up one extra position now with the expense of Tice making his way up into 5th place. And so what we'll do now, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to take you a quick look at the championship standings while we got a bit of breather with them while Splash is trying to attack James Head for the 3rd place position. And so we'll take a moment here after the race results at the Nürburgring. T5 Black getting his 4th win of the season, continuing his excellent podium run here in the Tier 1 division. He sits on top with 218 points here today, with Palmer really trying to hang on and keep that podium streak alive in 2nd place with 185 points. Then you go back all the way to 3rd place with Ure in 3rd place with 138 points. So it's been a very, very excruciating season for the Climax team. Like I said, they've been very, very high up in the standings, but not very high up in terms of point values. They would have liked to be a little bit higher up the order, up the closer to 1st and 2nd place. But of course, they've had a very tough season. But like I said, giving it absolutely everything they got in both of those Audis. So Yuri in 3rd place with 138 points. Swift in 4th place with 106. Tice in 5th place with 102, coming off of his first 2 podiums of the season at Bathurst and Nürburgring. Splash in 6th place with 80 points. James Head in 7th place with 60 points as well. Balez, of course, not attending this race. He sits in 8th place with 56. And then JK and K&K Dot with 34 and 32. And then Viper and Carbonar with 29, 28, and 14 points apiece. And so they stay right where they are in terms of standings. And so it looks like Yuri now starting to build a bit of a comeback towards these 2 up ahead of him. And he drives this Audi with very, very high speed and a lot of pace underneath of it. Of course, been doing very, very well. Of course, building a gap on Tice, but at the same time, closing that gap up to these 2 right here. And it's going to be interesting on how he manages to make his way past on them. There is the lead now for the overall race itself. T5 Black mounting a heck of a charge in that 79 Corvette. And now all of a sudden, he's right up on the back bumper of that number 24 Mercedes AMG. So we'll keep an eye on this battle, but at the same time, we'll keep an eye on Yuri as well. We'll take you on board now with the 77. We'll take you on board with the Spaniard of Yuri for a little while as he catches on up to the 2 drivers ahead of him. And while we do that, while we keep an eye on this battle here for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, we'll take you... Oh, and James Head with a big, big moment. And I think Splash is going to let him back on by, not take any bit of risk. Splash isn't really much of a risk taker and instead wants to be very consistent and very conservative once he's got. And Splash making a very nice move towards the corkscrew. And is that going to allow Yuri to close up any bit sooner? But all of a sudden, yeah, Yuri really up now with these 2 guys for 3rd place. Palmer and T5 Black into the pit lane for their first stops of the day. I think going to make the 3-stop work. James Head and Yuri both also going to come into the pits, as well as Splash now is going to stay out a tad bit longer. So is he going to try and make the 2-stop work here today? Tice as well into the pits, and Doug Barrow into the pits as well. I think Bo Fishadara is also going to stay out. Yes, he is. So Bo Fishadara also going to stay on out for an extra lap. Hairraiser as well going to stay on out as Patrolhead into the pits as well. Superboy. And was that a particular decal that I saw on the side of that Corvette as well? Come on, load on in your Corvette. Yep, that's what I thought. That's what I thought as well. Patrolhead looks like he hit a little while ago, as well as Bar 27. But a lot of these guys pitting out. And Bo Fishadara actually joining right behind the 2 race leaders of Palmer and T5 Black, as well as Hairraiser. No, Hairraiser's actually stayed on out to maintain that maintains second place, but first place at the moment is Bo Fishidara. But where is Splash LTU? And he's coming through the second to last final corner right now. Is he going to pit is the big question. And yes, he will. Splash, the race leader, coming into the pits for his first stop of the day. And so getting ready to equip that Mercedes with a brand new set of Falcon slicks. Into the pits comes the number 11. Did that sign say Patrol Heads Racing right there? Hang on. Hang on, I gotta go back to that. Does that say Retro Heads? Oh, it is Retro Heads Racing. I was slightly confused on what that said. And so both Ishidara and Splash making their way into the pit spot. I did see Swift a little bit ways away. He's actually pit as is with the leaders. James up with a 1/10 of a second of a penalty. So he, excuse me, Jesus, good lord. Sorry about that. James up with a fair bit of a penalty right there. I'm not too sure what it was from, but he's gotten that penalty. And of course, he will have to clear that up before the race is over in about just over 40 minutes time. Splash rejoining out in 5th place, but not that far off these two race leaders. And so there is Yere, who's really built a bit of a gap to the guys behind, and he's really been one of the fastest guys out on this circuit. Let's see who's got the fastest lap at the moment. It is T5 Black in the Corvette, but just barely 20 thousandths faster than Palmer at the moment, and these two are still going to have a bit of a battle here today. And so while we got everyone coming into the pit lanes and coming on out, we'll take you through the second tier of standings at the moment. And at the moment, it is Doug Barrow and Hairbaiser leading a Costa Racing by SDM 1-2 at the moment. And so with 185 points for Doug and 146 for Hairbaiser, they've pretty much looked up to wrap up the championship. I think by the end of today's race, if they can get a wonderful, decent result here today with Hairbaiser and Doug Barrow in the top two standings at the moment. Then in 3rd place, it is Bo Fishidara in that McLaren 650S GT3. Oh, and of course, the dreaded leaf blower. Times like these where I just wish that there wasn't yard work being done right now so I can actually do what I need to do. So, but continuing on, Patrolhead now in 4th place with 120 points. Bar 27 not that far off from him as well with that 2nd place at Nürburgring last time by as well. 117 points for Bar 27 as well. Michelot maintaining that 6th place after his retirement at Spa-Francorchamps in 73 points. Superboy in 7th place with 64. B8 UTAP 60 points in 8th place. iPaz and Quinter, and then Stuza Luke, an awesome manky guy, of course, rounding out the standings as well for that race as well. And so, is there any battles at the moment besides Yere really building that gap in that Audi as he's taking a bit of his driving line through the dirt? Not really slowing him down that much. Yere looking very, very in fine form here this afternoon for the number 77 Audi. Of course, this battle at the moment between Bo Fishidara and Doug Barrow, a battle of the old chaps, as I like to call it, between these two. Really, really making it work between these two guys. And so now, Bo Fishidara getting very antsy with that McLaren 650S. Of course, Bo Fishidara, one of the drivers for the Top Performance Motorsport squad, led by Ace Boy. Of course, I got a message from I think Bo Fishidara. I think he said he showed one of the broadcasts for one of the races that I commentated on, and then it's like Ace Boy instantly recognized my voice, said that gave me a message saying commentating was very, very good. Cheers, Ace Boy, for the very, very nice feedback. And of course, Ace Boy joining in on in the SRS paddock to hopefully get a bit of a showing for the Top Performance Motorsports team here in SRS. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, after this race, I will be cutting the announcements here real shortly. After this race, a big announcement there is Bo Fischdara looks to make a move on Doug Barrow for the race lead of tier number 2. Oh, a bit of contact between the two drivers. And so very well held for the number 88 and the 13. But after this race, there will be an announcement that I will be making after this running. And so now these two, like I said, battle of the old chaps. Doug Barrow can give me all the rubbish he wants to give me for it, as well as Bo Fischdara. But of course, it's going to be a couple of guys going at it for the race win here as Doug Barrow flashes the front lights towards the McLaren. Patrolhead not that far off as well in the distance as well. Bar 27 actually recovering very, very well in 4th place in that number 27 Aston Martin with the Red Bull sponsorship. So Bo Fischdara going to go looking back towards the number 13. Oh, very, very close between Doug Barrow and Bo Fischdara. Doug trying to make the most out of the braking he can to close on up. Now Tice is giving me the rubbish for what announcement would it be. Oh, and Doug Barrow actually, as I take a look away, has taken to the gravel. And now all of a sudden, Bo Fischdara with a very comfortable gap for the race lead in tier number 2. And so a yellow flag for, is that a car that's gone slow? It is the number 78 of Ties, as he had a big moment. We'll take a moment to take a look at that. Oh, and it looks like there was on board the number 11 of Splash to the gravel trap. Oh, that's a very similar incident. He's actually gone through. Luckily, that Tice was ghosted, but that's a very similar incident to the number 95 of Swift early on in this race. D&J saying, what's good? Thank you for tuning on to the stream. D&J saying WSG. What's good? Thank you for joining into the stream. Doug Barrow saying, old and soul, but I'm trying. Ty saying, jinx yourself, Doug. Doug Barrow saying, yes, indeed. And so now Doug Barrow has got himself a bit of work now. Actually, he's got a lot more work to do now with the fact that he's got the 44 right up his chuff now for 2nd place in the Tier 2 at the moment. And this Tier 2 battle is looking very, very feisty indeed here. But at the moment, we'll take a moment away from the battle. We'll turn our eyes to this Tier 1 lead at the moment where Palmer and T5 Black. T5 Black very much closing up in that 79 Corvette. T5 Black in very, very fine form this season here today. And it's going to be looking very, very tough indeed here. And I think Palmer has got himself the fastest lap of the race. So we'll take a look at that and see if he's done so. That actually has gone over to Ure with a 20.675. So Ure in 3rd place, looking very fast in that Audi R8. LMS, the 5.2-liter V10 powered machine out of the Audi production lines in their GT3 division. All starting out with the Audi R8 LMS Ultra at one point, and I believe 2009 into 2010, of course. And a big monumental moment for that manufacturer, getting their first win as a manufacturer in the 2012 Nürburgring 24 Hours with Audi Sport Team Phoenix getting the win in the very famous yellow, bright yellow and blue machine there. And then 2015, the first win for the Audi R8 LMS in endurance racing for this specific model. Of course, getting the win there. And then since then, it has been very, very magical. Of course, missed out in 2016. 2017, I believe, was when Audi Sport Team Land got the win for that race as well. And then 2019, Audi Sport Team Phoenix getting the win for the Audi R8 LMS Evo. And so it is, and then this year was a very, very tough going for the Audi R8s. Of course, Seca to one point looked out to getting very, very good results here, but of course those BMWs were mighty quick. And so now it has been a very, very good running here as well. Bound to happen, just gonna get hit by Razor, and the teammates hit each other. Someone go back to me when the two teammates have hit each other, because I'm not seeing any signs of hair Razor. Oh, and that is Bartolomeo really taken to the gravel trap. Oh, and save it, Doug. Jesus, save it, Doug. Yeah, save it, Doug. And I'm not seeing any signs of K&K Dot, so I'm imagining he has retired from the race. And to be fair, it was a very, very tough showing for K&K Dot, who did qualify superbly well up in the top 5. But I think it wasn't meant to be. D&J saying, do you just have to race? A fair bit of practice. Yes, and Ty's giving me more rubbish for my commentary flaws. Doug, save it. I swear I can see that going up on the wall of quotes now by the end of this race stream, of this race replay here. Every race, every season, Doug mentions it. I think it's a victimless crime if it's the fact that it's your teammates hitting you every race of the season. So while we got this going on here, very, very close battle between Palmer and T5 Black. T5 Black, I just don't think he's been the quickest guy in this running. I think that has gone over to the Audi of Uray. Of course, Uray would like to be very, very much higher up in the race standings at the moment for today's running. Dang it, you Ties. I just got that notification on my Apple Watch here. Ties, I'm going to jinx you in every single moment that you're in a race winning position here for Le Mans here today, so just so you know what's coming. But at the moment now, take our eyes off of Ty's giving me a ton of rubbish here, and we're going to turn our eyes attention to T5 Black, who's now right up the back bumper of the number 24 Mercedes of Palmer as we near the halfway point of this race. And I think these two are going to be looking to make their second stop here, as they're going to be making 15-minute stints here. The second one of the day here come to a close. Palmer now to the inside pit wall. T5 Black trying to give it everything that he's got here to make sure he can make it work. And these guys very close on fuel, so they will be making their way to the pits here very shortly indeed. And I believe it's going to be the end of this lap. Doug Barrow, the guy in second place for tier number 2, going to make his way into the pit lane for his second stop of the day. And so now, while we got the, and see Swift there, going to be making his way to the pits here real shortly as well as Bo Fishidara, as well as Ties, as well as James, as well as Splash, as well as Uray, as well as T5 Black, and as well as Palmer, all making their way into the pits for their second stop of the day. Doug Burrow saying might have gone away with it had I not said anything. I think I always like to say something to add something to the commentary as well. And I'm saying so if it's when I'm in the lead, I don't have to worry. Now I'm going to make sure that you do worry, Tice. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt when you are leading this race as well. There is the top 3 of the running of the race here into the pit lane. Splash, top 4 into the pits. Top 5 in. Top 6 into the pits as well. Top 7. And I believe Bo Fishidara, he is into the pit lane. Swift, way back in 8th place at the moment, but Tice hasn't gotten to the pit lane just yet. Now he's gotten by to the pits as well. Oh my goodness me, and that is some 18 plus action right there for the young individuals of this group right here. And who's going to get it? I think T5 Black. going instead of going to overtake him on track, instead just goes through the pit lane and instead right through Palmer to get that race lead. And Palmer, I think, just gets it right on back. And that is some rated R action right there for the stream. Tice saying, yeah, but then I need to be leading. But Tice, when have you done that this season? That's the big question. And so now, T5 Black now going to try, and instead of going through the pits, is actually going to try and go overtake Palmer the legitimate way on the pits, or on the track. Another commentary miscue right there. How far back is Fury is the big question there. He's not that far off. He's about 7.5 seconds off of these race leaders at the moment, so not that particularly far off. Doug Burrow saying burn, Tice saying Bathurst Spa and maybe somewhere else. Hey, Tice, we get that you might have led, but you might want to look at your championship standings real quickly, and then you tell me if you have any first place. So, just letting you know. And so the real big question here, while I give Tice a little bit of my own rubbish, is Yuri making up the time deficit? He's gone down just a little bit by 0.3 of a second the last time we saw it not that long ago. Oh, and T5 Black giving it absolutely everything he's got to get by the number 24 here. Very, very close to getting that race lead, I'd say. This guy's going to battle out for another 12 minutes on this set of Pirelli and Michelin slicks. You can hear the rumble of the 6.2 liter V8 Chevrolet engine in that Corvette chassis compared to the 6.2 liter V8, that naturally aspirated V8 of the Mercedes AMG. Of course, that road car having a 6.3 liter bi-turbo Mercedes AMG V8. But of course, with the GT3 specification, you don't need that turbo, the bi-turbo specification in that car, because the car makes up a lot of torque, and of course it's very, very good in the straights. It's very nimble, of course, and you don't need that necessary wheel spin to get out of the corners. That's why the Mercedes crew might have taken out that bi-turbo conversion. So I was saying, nah, I don't need to have those, and you need to have a manufacturer. Okay, I see how he's turning the tables on me. I see how he's doing it. And so, like we said, Splash, not that far off, but having a very good day nonetheless. Of course, having a very well-earned results at I'd say at the Bathurst circuit, after having a very, very feisty battle with Ure for 4th and 5th place, but not such a great one at the Nürburgring circuit. And so he's going to try and make things work here by staying in 4th place. Of course, very well and truly off the race leaders, but of course in a very prime position as well. And actually he's going to go in a little more rated R action there for you, ladies and gentlemen, as he's not going to go around him, but instead rather right through him instead. God, I've got so many notifications through Discord. You guys have been absolutely flooding my Discord DMs. I'm actually going to close those on out for a little bit. Hopefully it gets some concentration through the race stream. So is there any particular battle that we can find at the moment? Well, there is going to be particularly one at the hands of James Head and Tice for 5th and 6th place. Just in the top 5 is these two going at it. James Head setting his fastest lap of the race with the 21.4 last time by, but Tice is significantly quicker in that Mercedes. Oh, UTAP having a bit of a moment. Got to be careful. Stay out of the way of these two guys being shown the blue flags. And very well done. Tosh, I said 10 a.m. GMT as in like 6 a.m. my time. That's what I meant. You just did 10 a.m. EST for me. So that's why it was up after the Formula One race. So I'll take you on board now with the guy who's been giving me rubbish all season long, I'd say. And so trying to make a move on James Head for 5th place. I'll tell you what, Tice, I'll give you this. If you can make me and the whole SRS League a Alex Albon-like rap for Rookie of the Year in 2019, I will give you all of my respect. If you can make an Alex Albon-like rap for the Rookie of the Year, like you did on the 2019 Rookie of the Year shenanigans, I like to call it, then you have my respect. I'll give you that assignment to do if you can make it happen. And then if you do that, I will not call you rubbish behind the wheel and on the streams, I'd say. Oh, James Head taking a bit to the gravel and still, oh, you can just see how much he's really trying to keep that Aston Martin on the track. And might look into that. No, I'm not gonna say that you're gonna look into it. I'm gonna make sure that you do it, so I can. If you keep doing it, if you don't do it, mate, well, you'll be the guy who I'm going to consider rubbish. And the car off and not really on the track. Bo Fishidara out here in the stream. Welcome, Bo, to the stream. We're racing as one today. Suits? What? We're racing as one today. Suits? I think that's what he's saying. Just saving fuel behind James whilst keeping pressure. That's a very interesting thing, I'd say. And this... Ah, okay, I get the reference now, Bo. I was so confused on what you meant. Suits and ties. I'll get that reference as well. It looks like T5 Black not that far off, but he's certainly a fair bit further back than the last time we saw the Corvette be right near the number 24 Mercedes. And Yurei really closing in on these two guys, significantly quicker than the guys up front as well. So Yurei, is he trying to look to mount a bit of a challenge to the two race leaders up front? And that is certainly going to be interesting if Yurei can get another Cymax car up into second or first. And so there was Splash, a little bit ways away behind, but in a very good and comfortable 4th place at the moment. Oh, and there's the 5/10 track limits penalty and there's a 5 limits track limits penalty for James Head for, I believe, some sort of track limits violation. I guess really feeling the pressure now of the number 78 Mercedes behind. Oh, is he going to try and force a move? And Ty's getting back that position, but as a matter of fact, it's allowed James Head to serve that penalty very quickly indeed. And now all of a sudden now James Head, who looked to be on a bit of pressure right there, has cleared up that trackless penalty, and he's might got himself another one by going wide out of the second to last final corner. No track limits penalty at the moment for James Head in that 7 Aston Martin. No, he must have kept it pretty clean. Oh, didn't want to go looking backwards of the way. Bo Fishidara, a comfortable lead in tier number 2 at the moment in that McLaren. Duck Barrel really in hot pursuit with Patrol Head also in hot pursuit, looking to make a pit stop here pretty shortly indeed. Swift has had a very difficult race after that spin early on in that race. And Swift, like we had mentioned, who was running in third place, he's just lost a lot. Hasn't been able to really get the groove and mojo back in that Audi R8. Has had a very difficult season for Swift. His best result being third place at Seca as his only podium of the season. And in a league where he's basically had a 75% podium consistency, this is quite a surprise for having only one podium this season. So a very tough day for Swift in that 95. High Racer way down out in 11th place at the moment, with bar 27 out, not that particularly far behind these two at the moment. Of course, still on the lead lap, because there are our race leaders, T5 Black and Palmer. And with about 3 minutes to the end of stint number 3, going to be making their way to the pits for the one final dash to the cash. And this has been a good race of attrition for these guys, because Palmer still in it with a mathematical chance at the championship, but it's going to be very, very slim if T5 Black can maintain this consistency and pace to keep Palmer at bay. And so there is Ure just after the corkscrew. Oh, and he's got himself a 5/10 track limits penalty for, I assume, what is going to be possibly cutting the corkscrew of some sort. And it looks like he can serve that penalty while breaking into the final corner. And so let's see here, just under 7 seconds is the gap. I think it's when this Audi is on particularly newer rubbers when it usually gains a lot of traction, I'd say, and a lot of time back. But as the tires in that Audi start to rub away and fall off a cliff, that's when the Audi loses its momentum advantage and kind of basically pulls it back in line with these two guys up in front. T5 Black now still kind of keeping Palmer at an arm's length, not really wanting to let him get away. Just very, very careful driving between these two drivers, as they know that there is a lot at risk here for this championship, with one extra round to go at Bathurst. Oh, Palmer, big moment, and that's going to allow a window of opportunity for T5 Black to sweep on by and get that race lead. And so now Palmer with a big, big moment. Can he try and force one up the inside? Oh, and it looks like he's going to do so. T5 Black giving him the room, but not a lot of room, and T5 Black taking that race lead, as James said, going to go for the early undercut out of 5th place. And this is going to be a bit of a gamble here for James Head in that number 7 Aston Martin. Can he try and make something work for that Aston Martin? And so what can James Head do in that number 7? And this is going to be interesting to see indeed as Doug Barrow makes his way into the pit lane to try and undercut on the number 88 McLaren of Bo Fischer-Donner, who's been leading that class for a good while today. And so a lot of guys coming into the pit lane as well. I imagine these guys going to be making their way into the pits here real shortly. Pull into the left, and they are indeed into the pits for one final stop. I imagine Ure going to come into the pits as well to try and get on even level with these guys, maybe a little higher up in terms of pace advantage. And it looks like Splash, is he going to come in this time by? No, he is going to stay on out a little longer. So can he gain something on this final, on this second to last stint? Ties into the pits. Bo Fishadara, I believe, staying on out. And most of these guys out of the race lead, coming down the pit straight. Pit exit. Swift into the pit lane as well, out of 8th place. And has that overcut for James Head worked is the big question here. And no, it is not. Oh, has it? Oh, hang on. Has it worked for James Head is the big question. As Tice rounds that corner. And Tice is free. But James Head has had put a lot more fuel in the tank. So he can burn that fuel a little bit more. But James Head a little bit ways away behind the number 78. But is setting down personal best sector times of his race. So this could be a fair bit interesting for the battle of 6th place. Bo Fishadara in the number 88 going to be making his final stop of the day in the Tier 2 leading McLaren 650S GT3. Yere still with that 4/10 penalty. Gonna try and make it work. He can serve it in the final corner, which will be beneficial for him. Bo Fishadara out of the tier number 2 lead with Doug Barrow. Where is he located? He's right at the corkscrew. So he's got Bo Fishadara has got a lot of clean air and not a lot of worry about here for this race. And so, oh, is that a sideways James Head out of the final corner? I think it was for a split second there. Yere now pressing the track limits a little bit beyond his natural capabilities. Trying to find the limits of that Audi R8 LMS. And there was bar 27 a ways up ahead. Gonna have to give the blue flag to the 24 and the 79. And bar 27's got to give these guys way. And a bit of more rated R action here, as I like to call it. So basically, just, don't go around them, just go right on through them. What makes the difference? So, and there's our race leader splash into the pits after trying to maintain his lead for as long as he can. Yere now coming through to the final corner. And then the penalty is served. So Yere now can full on push, not have to worry about slowing down whatsoever. And so bar 7 now finally letting on by the 24 and 79. And so where is the number 78? He's coming to the start finish line now, but Splash has got himself a comfortable margin here at the moment. And so there he is away, the number 11 out in 4th place. A ways away behind Yere, and I did hear that purple sector chime coming on in, so is Yere on a fastest sector of the day. We're still having that fastest lap of the day. Oh, sector 1, 21.482, so just missed. Actually, no, he's actually a bit faster. So was Yere faster this time by in sector number 2. He's going to be really antsy on the 3/10 lost. Oh, and T5 Black's got himself a bit of a penalty as bar 27 nearly going into the pit lane. And T5 Black's got himself a time penalty. And this is crucial with about 10 minutes to go in this running of the penultimate running of the SRS GT3 series here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. And so T5 Black needs to quickly serve that penalty if he wants any chance at a first place victory for his 5th victory of the season. A very fine showing for the 79 who sets a purple sector. So despite the time penalty, T5 Black still setting these personal best and race fastest sectors. Jesus me. And so Ure not that far on off. What is the gap is the big question. Just under 7 seconds the gap between the 77 and the 79. Palmer has done himself extremely well in this race after qualifying on pole position and pretty much has nearly led this race despite a couple of miscues, but has had a near perfect race. Ty's saying I'm gonna bottle it soon. Do you mean as in Palmer bottling it or yourself bottling it is the big question. Because I'd like to know, so. So I can make sure I can get that sweet, sweet rated R action here of you spinning, Tice. And so now, Ure, like we said, not even that far off, a corner ways away. Splash at least 2 corners away of Ure. And make that 3 to the race leaders. Oh, you're going to spin. Oh, okay, so we're going to go back to you. And we're going to wait for your spin, Tice. So we can get that extra saucy moments there of James Head getting by for 5th place. And so now while we wait for Tice to spin, I'll keep an eye on that arrow. T5 Black nearly serving that penalty. And so now he's going to be, and he's now served it. And so now he can full on push for the race lead and potentially the race win here with just under 7.5 minutes to go in this penultimate running here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Of course, not an official live race, but of course a replay of the race, courtesy of Doug Barrow providing that replay as well. Purple sector again for the number 79 of T5 Black, who's been in absolutely fine form this running, but not as fine form as a race leader Palmer. And I believe if Palmer does lose this race lead and lets T5 Black get the win, T5 Black will get the championship. So this is very important for Palmer to keep the number 79 of T5 Black for Team Simpact Racing behind. And still purple sectors for the number 79. And so is it going to be an extra point for that fastest lap? Because Ure would certainly love that extra point to get himself a little higher up in the point standings. And so with the extra slipstream, is it enough? And is it fastest lap? No, by a little under a 10th. And that Ure gets to still keep that fastest lap. But Ure, I don't think, has been able to get that car as fast as it had, as the pace it had earlier in this running. But Ure with a very fine podium here today. No spin as I look for one at Tice's perspective. Palmer now getting a little defensive on the inside. And while we keep an eye on this battle, we're taking a little minute to take a look at the Tier 2 at the moment, where Swift has got all but one more car, has gotten all cars by, but one Tier 2 car to get on by. And that is the hands of Bo Fichidaro, who once again in that McLaren just showing the world that this McLaren, it can be competitive with the right driver, and Bo Fichidaro is certainly the right driver for this McLaren 650S. And a yellow flag, and there is the spin that we were looking for Tice. And is James Head going to get by that position for 5th place? And yes, he does! And so, I did see the message that Tice was saying, I feel a Spinella soon, and just as I had predicted, the yellow flags and the Spinella for Tice. Doug Barrow saying, I made a mistake, steering issues again, so I don't think that Mercedes has been up to snuff. I thought him all he knows, Doug Barrow pointing out. And then Tice laughing. Tice LMAOing. Oh, and Tice saying, watch me get it back. Oh, that's going to be interesting to see within the final 4 minutes of this race. All right, Tice, you're in the driver's seat now. Just show us how you can get back to top 5 after that spin is the big question. Of course, James said, like we said, undercutting the number 78. But now that overcut has really worked. Oh, Tice nearly spinaling it again. All right, Tice, you are the man of, you are the Sebastian Vettel. You have gone from becoming the Kimi Räikkönen to the Sebastian Vettel of the league now. So, did a nice 360. Tice says, messy 360. Doug Barrow saying, I can assure you I get P5 on the last lap. All right, well, we'll keep an eye out for that as I'll hold somewhat of a grudge. And so now, Palmer and T5 Black still battling it out. I don't think T5 Black is going to try and force a move, but instead keep the pressure on for Palmer, who at the moment is cool as the Iceman himself, Kimi Räikkönen. Well, I say that, both going into the gravel just slightly. And there she is, Sharon Palmer. Welcome out to the live stream. I missed the race. Yeah, it's been a quite enjoyable race. I'd say it was very interesting on the fact that, you know, championships could be decided and not by virtue of points, but I think Doug Barrow, like we said, could clinch the championship here today with the second place here today. And so I think we'll have this lap and one more for the Tier 1 division here for Palmer and T5 Black. And these two, like we've said, have had a very long season-long rivalry. Doug Barrow saying a bit late to the stream. It's nothing. As long as she makes it, Doug. And also giving a quick shout out to Sharon Palmer as our sponsor of SRS, as she will be responsible for handling the trophy process of getting trophies to our Tier 1 and Tier 2 champions. And so we really appreciate her for doing that. Last lap for these two guys, as Tice likes to point it out. And yeah, based on time constraints, it should be the last lap for Tice and James Head. Oh, trying to make a forcible move on the inside. Now all of a sudden, James Head is really going to defend for this top 5 position as well. Very good recovery for James Head as he's had to make a bit of a pit stop miscued comeback. That's why I load welcome and thank you, Sharon, as Doug Barrow likes to call it. Oh, James Head on the gravel trap. Very, very scary moment. It's his final lap, and it is indeed for a couple of these guys further down the pack, but we got another lap for the guys up the running order. I think Splash should be able to make it, and I think James Head downwards should be the final lap of the race. Oh, James Head, and he's had a spin! Oh, and that's a big moment for the number 7! Oh no, and James Head with the spin out of the top 5 will get that 5th place back to Tice. And Tice, you were kidding. No, it is not live, Elliot. This is a race replay from last week, but this race for the season finale will be live later today. And Splash actually going to wait up in 4th place, and he will take 4th place in that number 11. A great day for the number 11. Tice coming through the top 5 at the line. James Head coming through for 6th, but it will be Bo Fischadara who will get the Tier number 2 win here today at Laguna Seca. And Swift capping off a very difficult race in 8th place. Doug Barrow, P2 in class, should get the Division 2 Tier 2 championship with that 2nd place as a result. Patrolhead in 3rd place for the 44 Jaguar. Good recovery drive for him as well. Hair Razor, and Bar 27 and B8 UTAP rounding out the top 6 in that class as well. I think someone did leave the race as well. I'm not too sure who did also leave the race as well. But Palmer will hold on to the Tier 1 lead, and he will win for the second time this season at Laguna Seca. And he will still keep his championship hopes alive with T5 Black in second place. But what a drive it has been for the Spaniard in the 77 Audi Sport Team Side Max entry. And that is the race to cap it all off. So Palmer, T5 Black, and Yere making up the podium in Tier 1, and then Bo Fishadara, Doug Barrow, and Hair Razor capping off the Tier 2 podium as well. But ladies and gentlemen, what a race that was. But ladies and gentlemen, let me get you guys a bit of an announcement that we at SRS have been planning on doing. Oh, that's a bit of a saucy one right there. Let me see if I could find it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let me start off with the announcement by saying that we at SRS, right after the GT3 series concludes, we will have a 3-week series for a Team V Team series for 2 of the biggest uprising esports teams in the GT Sport division. That's right, we will have the Speed Demon Motorsports team, which is my team, against the guys over at SideMax Motorworks, and we are going to have a very feisty Team V Team race, between Team V Team series between us and SideMax. Of course, starting off with the Shelby Cobra 427 around the course that you just saw today at WeatherTech Race to Laguna Seca, and this should be a very feisty one indeed as well. Then that's going to be for the first event. Then event number 2 is going to be 2 races for the Group 3s in the wets with a single manufacturer, and then Group 4s in the wet at the Red Bull Ring. So that should be very feisty indeed. And then for event number 3, it will be LMP1s at the iconic Circuit de la Sarthe, and that should be very interesting indeed as well. Palmer and T5 Black with a great last battle indeed as well. Good job, Trev. Hope I make the cut. So teams will be unveiling their driver lineups most certainly before the Thursday before the event later this week. Elliot Faggoter, need a commentator. And that's my announcement I was going to say. And the big announcement in terms of the commentator, and speaking of which, for commentating, I myself will be driving in that series as well for the Speed Demon Motorsports Camp. So you're kind of wondering who will be the commentator for the SRS tournament series between the Team V teams events for SideMax and SDM. That will be the driver of the number 7 Aston Martin. James Head will be in the commentary box for the 3 weeks that we will do the SideMax Motorworks versus Speed Demon Motorsports Team V Team events. So we're very happy to have James Head back in the commentary box. Of course, he was the man that inspired me to do commentary on GT Sport, and of course he is the man that I look up forward to when I do these commentaries every time I do these events as well. But James Head, like I said, will be in the commentary box for the SRS tournament series between the SideMax Motorworks and Speed Demon Motorsports teams. But ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy this penultimate race replay of the SRS GT3 series, please leave a like, leave a comment, and if you want to follow us for the rest of the season and for any other events, including our SRS tournament series starting next week, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. But ladies and gentlemen, I will be back in a couple hours' time for the season finale of the SRS GT3 series here today at the Circuit de la Sarthe. The championships will be decided, if not have been decided, after today's running. But ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy that race, I've been ST_RDZ, and we'll see you guys in a few hours for the season finale of the SRS GT3 series.